Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from your respective time zones. It's 8:30 p.m. IST and we are just starting. So to begin with, as I do, in all the events, we started with TEG 2 years back in July 2023. Uh, we inaugurated TEG as the event. The idea has been always the same to have, veteran entrepreneurs and business leaders, academics, so that they can share their knowledge, their wisdom, what we are calling as Gyan, as the name suggests, the entrepreneurship Gyan, with the budding entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, or anyone who is just getting started. Doesn't really matter about the age being young, but when once you decide to get started, basically. And we have an active platform now, more than I think more than 950 people, around 1,000 people. We have very active TEG community. And the idea is same, that if you are looking for some collaborations, some help, some mentorship, you can look for, and that has been the kind of the whole plan of starting with TEG. And then we have been inviting speakers, like today we have Amit Ji, who already have tremendous experience, who have faced some of those hurdles, some challenges, had a couple of successes and failures, which can motivate you. That is one thing, but also to understand that how you can think about going and in case you face those challenges. And of course, challenges are also changing with time, but that's the plan. The plan is that, okay, you have that some strategies in mind and some mentorship and some kind of you can reach out to some community of people, and that's what we are trying to create basically here. So with that, not taking much time, I will invite my co-host Hishi to formally introduce Amit ji.
Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I am Rishikesh Satwani, a 1997 IIT Bombay graduate. My connection with our alma mater is strong. I have served as a president of IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation's San Francisco Bay Area chapter for 2 years. Currently, I balance my role as fractional CMO for a few startups, as well as serving on the board of IIT Bay Area, as well as IIT Startups. So today we are privileged to introduce a remarkable alumnus of IIT Bombay, Mr. Amit Goradia, a mechanical engineer graduate from the class of 73. That was just before I was born. So immediately after post-graduation, he embarked on an impressive entrepreneurial journey that has flourished for over 5 decades. Well, I want you to let this sink in a little bit. I have been trying to do a fractional CMO role. It's kind of an entrepreneurship, and it is challenging. For him to do all this 5 decades ago in India, and with, imagine for today's people, with no internet, no mobile phone, no social media, and all the luxuries of modern life, it must have been really tough. So his achievements are super impressive. Today, he leads a successful family group of industries encompassing both the manufacturing of household plastic products as well as specialized engineering for the foundry sector. Beyond his significant business achievements, Mr. Gordia is deeply committed to social impact, and that's what I really like. A pivotal figure at the United Way of Baroda for over 30 years. As a founding board member and past chair, his dedication continues at the national level with United Way of India. His philanthropic spirit extends to heading NGOs that provide crucial support and care for underprivileged children, women, and individuals and families affected by leprosy. Furthermore, he champions financial inclusion as the head of a microfinance organization empowering over 6,500 individuals. Mr. Gordia has also actively shaped the industrial landscape, having served as chair of the local Industries Association and for nearly a decade as chair of FICCI Gujarat. Alongside his impactful professional and social contribution, he is a devoted family man, a proud father of 2 sons and a grandfather of 3 with his wife Geeta. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to a true embodiment of IIT Bombay spirit, a visionary entrepreneur and a dedicated humanitarian who proves that you can engineer a better world. Mr. Amit Goradia.
Thank you, Rishi, and thank you, Vaibhav, for pulling me into this. Uh, I think too much has been said, so I'm not going to say anything except at that time when we joined, I joined in 68. Remember, it was a 5-year course, 68 to 73 in IIT Bombay. Mechanical, Hostel 3. If any of you are from Hostel 3, keep that in mind. And I was originally wondering what I should talk, and Vaibhav pushed me into this. So, well, we have a fairly large group of industries which now I head. I don't know whether even I head because either in one or two of the companies I remain as a chairman, in one or two as a director, and the rest is all advisors because my both sons are in their 40s, and the next generation just doesn't want to believe that the elder generation knew how to run things. So there I am giving advice, but very clearly they decide if we both differ, and mostly we differ. So that's the background. But after having spoken to Vaibhav, I thought of what should we talk, and finally I'm going to give 3 examples of 3 different industries which we did. One, which I joined straight from IIT in 73, and which went right down in the dumps up to liquidation, and then how we brought it up to be the most successful company we now have in the group. The second one, something which happened by pure chance, by, you might say, just out of the blue, and is now done well right from go all the way for 30 years. And the third one, which started off with a bang and had to be shut down. So these are 3 different companies, and I would like to just give a background of each so that questions can come in any of those areas. Well, let me tell you, when I joined IIT in 68, by the 3rd year, I knew that I could never be an employee. The way my personality was, I just couldn't sit on the other side of the table. That was clear to me, and I knew I had to be an entrepreneur. And I remember that we had subjects like economics and business ethics, etc. at that time. I don't know if it's there now. And I did remarkably well in that. And in the 3rd year, I was at one of the Tata. We had to do summer training in the 3rd and 4th year. And in the 3rd year, I went to a maintenance shop in one of the Tata companies, and which excited me. The mechanical shop, the foundry, etc., excited me. And as a matter of fact, my project, last 6 months project in IIT at that time, was automation of foundries keeping Indian conditions in mind, which, please remember, in 73, automation was not a word which people talked about in India, because basically the salaries and wages were so low that it was always, let's do it by hand. Anyway, I did my project, and as a matter of fact, I was thinking of starting my own industry. My parents were both doctors, so there was no history in my own family. But one of my uncles was a metallurgical engineer. So at some time in the 3rd or 4th year, I went to him with my project or what I was going to put up or thinking of putting up, with, of course, money from my father. And he said, come back next Sunday. Let me think over it. And when I went next Sunday, he says, why don't you join me? And as an arrogant young IITian, I said, fine, I'll join you. But what will it be in it for me 5 years down the line and 10 years down the line? And he said, well, 5 years down the line, I commit to you, you will have substantial uh, powers to decide. And 10 years down the line, with my age, you will be the boss. I said, fine, acceptable, if that's what the condition you give to. So from Bombay, I studied in Bombay all the way. I took a train, and on 1st July, I was in Baroda, where I started as a management trainee. Fortunately, at that time, my uncle had this thing of making me work through all the departments for 1 year, so that I knew every bit of what a machine shop is, whether it be planning, production, inspection, quality, shop floor, machine shop management, and even accounting and writing vouchers. So something which I'm sorry to say, the next generation, even my children did not do it. They all want to sit in the chair immediately and start, taking decisions. I think that 1 year training taught me a lot post IIT. I mean, I was an IIT engineer, but I was not really basically a man who would sit down and do research or something like that. That was clear in me. I was rather a management man. But after 5 years of IIT, I had no patience to go through an MBA or anything of that sort. Anyway, as things went on, I went up with a company ladder, but I joined in 73, and by 82, 83, the company was in deep trouble. Now, the history is that in 73, in a city like Baroda, there was no infrastructure. So we were making machines for the engineering industry, but right from the nut and bolt, we had to have lathes down to the simplest lathes to make them ourselves. So we had 400 people unionized and doing jobs which could have been, if in today's infrastructure, would have been done cheaper by others. So what we landed is, by 85, we had a strong communist union. Those were the days of strong unions in India, and which started causing serious trouble to the company. And by 87, we were reported sick. So when the company became sick, I was already the joint managing director, my uncle being the chairman. And I think I was managing director, not joint managing director. And we had to go to the board of BIFR, at what was called at that time Board of Reconstruction. So I was flying to Delhi to see how to revive the company. We had about 400 workers. And when we did a study, it came to the point that if we brought down workers to 200, we would make the company profitable. So we talked to the workers, talked to the union, signed an agreement where it was decided that 40% of the money would be brought by the family, 60% by the banks. The family brought in 40% of the money. So with that agreement with the workers and with the 40% having paid, I flew to Delhi to the BIFR board and told them that, look, we have an agreement. We have brought our 40% money. So we are ready for a reconstruction of the company, to bring it back to proper health. And the BIFR judge, who is basically a sort of a high court judge, took out a telegram which he had from the union saying that they are canceling the agreement they had signed, and that they do not want to agree to 200 people being knocked off. So I have to tell you this because it takes a little time, but the BIFR board decided to take us into liquidation. Now, having worked my will say up, I just couldn't accept that. So I went into appeal, which was the appellate court for BFR. And the next month I flew again to Delhi when the appellate judge called me into his room before the hearing started and said, look, young man, I was 39 at that time. I've seen the papers. You are an intelligent young man. I see you've made proper representation, but you're putting good money behind bad money, because these workers of yours are not going to allow you to make your company successful. So put your sentiment aside. Let me liquidate this company. Start again. You are 39. And I went back and the company was closed. So this engineering company, which I joined and I was a managing director, was closed when I was 39. We struggled for 2 or 3 years. That's about, I think, 88 to 91. Started the company again. And slowly, bit by bit, we rebuilt it because we still had a reputation as people who could deliver. And way back in 95 or 96, 97, when still, the back offices of software development, etc., was still coming up. I remember we had at that time a collaboration with a German company, and we became their back office for making drawings. Let me tell you, internet was slow and tardy at that time. So we had to make drawings on not on laptops or computers, sometimes on the drawing board, transfer them to the desktops. I don't think there was a laptop by that time, or the laptops had still not become very prevalent, and then convert them to CDs and then fly them to Germany, send them to Germany. That's how we sold. And I remember that in 1996, I was very thrilled because I was selling drawings to Germany at 9 Deutschmark per hour. And at 9 Deutschmark per hour at that time was a huge amount of money for us. So we survived with that way, built it up. And today in 2025, I would say that we are the market leaders for automated, specialized foundry and forge industry, and even for automatic testing equipment for automatic lines, which are used for very specialized purposes by people like Tatas, Hindujas, etc., and Maruti on their automatic car foundry lines. So that is one case where we went right down and have come all the way up. I'd now like to come to the second story, which I said I would say. This, I got married in 76. We had two sons who had both going to school. My wife also was from a company, from a family which was in the business. So by the time the children started going to school, she was very jumpy. She also wanted to do something. She said, allow me to do something small. So my cousin and myself were sitting one day in the evening and having a drink. And he said, look, Geeta is very keen on starting something. Why don't we think of something between you and me? We put 25 lakhs aside and let her do something. So I started looking for projects which could be done in 25 lakhs. And we thought of various things like synthetic sacks and fishing nets and all sorts of things, because we were in Gujarat, in Baroda. GSFC and IPCL were right next door, and you could get polymers, etc. And then about a week later, when my cousin was in Bombay and his golfing partner at that time had become the Colgate managing director, he rang me up suddenly in the afternoon after lunch and said, Amit, what do you know about toothbrushes? So I said, well, I use one. So he says, no, there is an offer from Colgate to make toothbrushes. I said, all right, let's have a look at it. And he said, look, this will be an easy plant. Geeta will go. I said, no, give me some time. And then, of course, remember, as you rightly said in the beginning, no internet, no Wi-Fi, no Google, nothing. I had to go to libraries to see what goes into a toothbrush, who makes toothbrush machines, how are toothbrushes made in India, etc., etc. And finally, I found out that there are three manufacturers. The Indian toothbrushes were being made from copies of an English-British machine. So when I was going to Europe for one of my engineering company jobs, I went to England, saw the machines. The next one was a Belgian who had good machines, good technology, but they didn't know very good English. And then I flew to Germany, where they had the best machines and they knew English. So I came back and told my cousin that, look, if we are going into this industry, I'm buying that German machine. I'm not going to buy any of these Indian machines because I know what technology is, and this will take Indian toothbrushes to a different level. He said, can you make it work with this cost? I said, they buy the Indian machine at that time was 1 lakh, and this one was 16 lakhs. So I said, we have to run 365 days, 24 hours. If we run the machine, we can break even with one machine, but we will give such quality that we will soon grow. And we started that. That was more as to keep my wife out of my hair so that she would be working and not sitting at home. And that 25 lakhs today has gone to a 300 crore investment. All the way, we may have had some hiccups in some years, but even a success all through from 1986 to today. My wife is still the managing director, but my eldest son is the executive director. I am de facto chairman, but not allowed to. You can imagine having a boss of a wife at home, the same boss at the factory. So I can't get too close, but it's been a success. We today are 70% exports. And for your people who are out there in USA, you can see our products in Walmart, in CVS, in Target, in Meyer, anywhere you want. If you are in Europe, in Germany, you can see it in Muller, you can see it in, I mean, Kaufland, you can see it in, I mean, most of those, in France, it's Carrefour. We export to just about every country in the world, and 70% is exports. We work for Unilever and GSK, which is now Halion. We are their suppliers. This has been a success story which started as a pure chance. The third one story which I wanted to tell you before I leave it open for questions is because we were working with Unilever, and when they got into toothbrushes, I did a lot of innovations for them, which were done first time in India. And I'd got friendly to people who, when I started with Unilever in the 90s, were low down, but then had grown to be managing director. One of the managing directors called me and said, Amit, I want to ask you to do something. I said, what's that? He says, we want to be very big in tea and coffee. And we believe the future is tea and coffee vending machines. We have been a miserable failure in India with our tea and coffee vending machines. Would you like to look at them and develop with them? So here I was looking at tea and coffee machines at airports and other joints, which did not work for 4 reasons as I came across. One, they ran on 230 volts, and because of the fluctuation in India in the 90s, they all blew off, so they were never working. Second, please remember that the tea and coffee has a lot of sugar in it, and there were ants and cockroaches all over inside because they were not properly sealed. Third, the water which was put was not purified, and hence most people didn't use it. And that there was leaking, failures, and I said this was it. So my cousin, who's also an IIT Bombay alumni, 1 year junior to me, he did his electricals. I got him into it because he's more of an engineer than me. I'm more of a management man, but he got him into it. So we decided that we would do 24 volts. We would have a UV light which would purify the water. We had proper sealing done, and also the taps wouldn't leak. Yeah, that was the other problem. And we made a tea machine at a very reasonable price, which was totally different and was very successful. Now, we spent a lot of money on development. My cousin I flew to Italy, to Spain to get the right motors for tea and coffee machines, which were micro motors, and they were being made there. We did a lot of development. It took us 6 months to develop before we had a really good product. And then one gentleman in Unilever, there are these always, said, we need your manufacturing drawings and electrical and electronic circuit. First, we resisted for 2 or 3 months because we knew that once that was in somebody's hand, anyone would be able to give it a little cheaper. But eventually we had to give it. And with the drawings, someone in Unilever purchase department tendered out. And of course, they got someone to quote cheaper. And we were told to drop a price which was no more remunerative. So we worked for a few months, and that company we had to close. Although we believed that we had done it for them, and I had to go and tell the managing director, and all he said was sorry. So these are 3 different experiences which I have had amongst many more, but I thought these were 3 completely different ones and relevant. I must tell you youngsters, at least those of you who are born after 93, 94, that from 73 to 93 was a completely different world to do business in India. I remember in 77, I had gone to England and I saw a completely new conveyor technology, and I wanted to buy it for a simple amount of 5,000 pounds. And those days, pound was about 25 rupees. I had to make 9 trips from Baroda to Delhi to meet the authorities before I got permission to send 5,000 pounds out of the country. These are just an instance of the type of trouble we had during those days. So these are my submissions. Things are much, much easier now. We can do it our way. And I'll be more than happy to take questions rather than keep on talking. Thank you, Vaibhav and Rishi.
Thanks a lot, Miji, for your time. And I still don't see there are questions, but rather there are comments. So I'm not sure if, are people waiting for more stories from your end or what? Let me just say, okay, somebody
What's the
just
first question?
put it after listening your story. So Ramakrishnan is asking, I'm intrigued by your second story of how unexpectedly toothbrush manufacture became such a huge success. Did you venture into anything else like this one? So I think probably people are looking for more stories. What other ventures or what other things you ended up doing. Yeah.
Let me
Mhm.
let me expand on these toothbrush stories. Uh,
Yeah.
we started toothbrushes. Originally, we were doing for Colgate. Then we shifted to Unilever. But as our bankers said, we were all eggs in one basket. One product, toothbrushes, one company, Unilever. They said you cannot get it worse. I mean, it's a perfect definition of all eggs in one basket. But Unilever was doing so well. We were growing at 30-40% a year. So from up to 2000, we were all fine. Suddenly, certain management changes occurred. Certain management ideas changed in IIT, in Unilever, and the sales started dropping, and we got into trouble. And we realized that we had to do two things. We were 100% Unilever at that time. So we set ourselves a target that in 10 years we would reduce the Unilever sales to 50% or below. Two, we would not just make toothbrushes, but we would get into other areas of business. So by 2005, we had already reduced Unilever to less than 50%, got into household cleaning, and in oral care, instead of toothbrushes, we started making 20 different products. So one more incident of, you have to be careful. You think somebody is your great friend and doing very well, but ensure that you ensure yourself that one person can't drop you down, if I may add.
Thanks, Rishi.
Well, yeah, so the next question is from Vivek. How hands-on does one need to be in a business? Can one remain out of the subject and run a business successfully?
See, being a first generation entrepreneur, we are always more hands on than we need to be. We tend to get into more details than we need to be. That is sometimes a positive and sometimes a negative when you grow beyond a certain point. And this is the fault of all first generation entrepreneurs who find it difficult to be hands off. But as you grow, it is absolutely essential that you spend your time. At 75, I should be looking at what the company, I should actually not be looking at the company at all. But if I'm looking at the company, I should be looking at what the principles are, how are we? Yeah, we are suddenly landed in a situation where China has 150% duty, India has only 26, just toothbrushes. USA imports 1 billion toothbrushes from China. Here is a market which is open. Now, how do we make the most of it? I should be spending my time only looking at that and not asking what is today's production, what is have we delivered, have we executed, etc. But sometimes for a first generation entrepreneur, that becomes very difficult. But yes, you should be hands off after a certain time.
Great. And Amir is asking, of course, he would like to know how the union rules changed since 1973 and what issues, restrictions, new or old, companies face today. And I think you are still active with the unions and, you are on the boards and you are still supporting. So probably you will have some more idea about it, right?
See, originally in 70s, 80s, and even 90s, the government always sided the union. Management was always wrong. Till 90s, making money was wrong. Making a profit was wrong. That was the whole psychology that the government worked with. As we have come along after 2000, unions have got weaker. Unjust causes of unions are not listened to. Second, there has been a lot of relaxation. I won't say there is a hire and fire policy, but certain laws have made it possible for you to get rid of workers, to you can have contract employees where you can have him for 1 year, and then if you don't have enough work, you can just tell him to goodbye. So there has been a lot of change. First of all, the massive change is from, except in some states. India has, so many states. There are still the West Bengals of the and Keralas who are still more communist or very leftist, who still have problems with unions. But in forward-looking states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, etc., unions are no more a force. And again, for unjust causes, the government doesn't support them.
Thanks. There is another question from Parag Agarwal, and he's asking, how do we encourage more collaboration between academia and industry for R&D, especially MSMEs, to encourage them to take more risk and look at university IP as a path to business growth?
They would do it, but MSMEs need answers today or yesterday, not after a long period. The one problem, and I have been interacting with IIT, I know somebody out here who's there, who I've been dealing with, because he told me he's going to be joining today, and I saw his name come on, one of the professors. The problem is time bound work from IITs, from institutions, not just IIT Bombay, all institutions, from even an NID, etc., is not there. And if I have to deliver something in 3 months, I need the answer in 1 month so that I can make the product in 2 months. MSME doesn't have time. He doesn't have money to get blocked for a development. So unless the academia agrees to move at the speed of industry or allow them to collaborate at their speed, collaboration between academia and MSMEs will be very difficult. And there I put a drastic change is required in the way academia or institutes like IIT, which are IIT Bombay, which is one of the top institutes, works. They have to move with speed and with committed dates.
All right. Of course, you didn't mention that there is a professor as well. So, and I think there are other academics also hearing you. So probably they may agree, disagree, or they may ask, and then we can see that if they're agreeing, disagreeing, or they have other questions in mind. By the way, so Jayesh Desai is asking, can you elaborate on how things were before the economy opened up in 1990s, and what difference you experienced later?
Yeah, we needed permission for everything. For a collaboration, first of all, you could not form a joint venture. We had collaborations. Foreign money could not come in and go out, which is much easier now. We now have even 100% foreign-owned companies here. We run one company which has 60% foreign shareholding. We have another company which has 65% foreign shareholding, which allows them to happily give us the latest technology. Before 93, we never got the latest technology. We only got 10 years old technology because they were only collaborators. They were getting us measly 5% royalty. So their latest technology, they were not giving us. Now, today, we are producing equipment which is as good as what they're making way back in Germany.
Okay.
There's been
So I think one question.
a drastic change.
Yeah. So one question from my end, because I know that you do export to Latin American countries, to European, US, and other parts of the world. What do you think, which exporting to which part of the world or which country is little bit, more tricky, or, it requires a lot more regulations and, a lot more processes as compared to probably, sending a product within India. So from your
Big
experience
country.
of exporting so many parts of the world.
Today now, just about every country, especially in the Western world, whether it be Europe or America, requires a lot of audits, lot of ethical standards, lot of GMP, good manufacturing practices, and just about everyone needs that. So there is no difference, whether it be USA or France or England or Germany or Spain or Italy, it's all the same. You can get away with small countries like Thailand or Sri Lanka, but for all the major countries around the world, it's as difficult. One is as difficult as the other.
Okay, okay, thanks. I asked because I'm based out of Sao Paulo, and a lot of my colleagues here in Brazil do asking me that they want to have some pharma products, let's say from India, and then a lot of Indian entrepreneurs also, keep telling me that they would like to export to Latin American countries like Peru, Colombia, Spain, where I've already worked. But I think regulations are a tricky thing. What you are mentioning, apart from a couple of countries where probably regulations are not so much. What is the case for African countries? Is the same exactly that regulations are still
Or
quite tough in the
Africa
African
is
countries?
much easier. Africa is much easier.
Okay,
Africa is
okay, okay, okay. Thanks. Okay, I think Dhruv is asking another question. What mistakes did you made, and how did you deal with them? So probably you can touch upon one or two mistakes, in your journey of, either the stories that you touched on or otherwise. Yeah.
mistakes. Who wants to remember mistakes? Sure, I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call them mistakes. I call them error of judgment, because in
Okay.
there's no mistake. It's just your error of judgment in business, which may not succeed, and so you have to withdraw. But one of my major mistakes, but I think I overcome every time, was I had a board member. He said, I have always to hold you back. Is always, one of the major mistakes. Okay, I will call it a mistake. Is never plan for expenses before income. That means you do not invest majorly unless you know that you have the business. Sometimes earlier in life, I have invested with the hope of getting some business, and then that equipment has lied over there for 10 years and 15 years without a rupee of business. So that is one of my, that enthusiasm which takes you forward. And that has happened in all the businesses. Is you do something with the hope that it will work, and it doesn't work, or you're too early.
Okay. Thanks. So Vishesh is asking about a question probably true in current time, that are you thinking about pushing into the US market, as with the tariffs the toothbrushes are going to get costlier? Probably, I'm not sure if you're still dealing with the operations or you're still thinking about these kind of problems, but
I am,
that's the question.
because just about every retailer, include right starting from Walmart, uh, our telephones are off the hook since the last 10 days. Just about, I mean, but I mean, after all the talk, everyone said, let it settle down, let the desk settle down, because Mr. Trump is getting up every day in the morning and realizing his mistakes. So I think it'll be at least 2, 3 weeks before the things settle and we know where the opportunities lie and where they don't. Like today, he has withdrawn all taxes, including from China, for mobiles, because he realized he's going to screw up the whole system if Apple raises their price by 50%. So wait, Trump will come down to line. We are expecting in the industry, by the way, we are expecting that all the other countries will come down to 10%. Yeah, I'll just tell you the sentiments for those who are in America. And this is the business people talking in India. And China will come down to 30 or 40%. That is what we are expecting Trump will have to come to.
Okay, thanks. Then there is another question in which Mr. Murthy is asking about, well, if you have kind of any applications in the defense that you have looked at, for example, in your career. So any experience with defense production, for example.
Um, Not defense, but defense equipment. Now, my younger son, who handles all the engineering, is looking at supply of auxiliary equipments to the defense industry. There's a lot of things happening. I'm not talking of guns and something like that, but there's so much else to be given to defense, and we are looking at some of it. But all those, there are NDAs signed, so not much I can tell you what it is.
Okay, thanks. All right. There's another question from Anil Pandit. Uh, well, his probably again, I'm not sure if his question is directly of your interest, but he's asking, can industry sponsored professor of practice at academia help to add speed and commitment, in academia as required by the industry? So you must be aware there is something called as professor of practice, where people who have experience in the industry do join institutions, and they do the teaching and research, and mostly teaching, research, and consultancy work in the
Are
institutions.
some people who do it. There are some of my
Yeah.
own colleagues from my batch who have taken a sabbatical and gone and taught for a year at IIT Bombay. There are
Uh-huh.
people who do it, but they are basically also from they are professors or partially teaching or doing research somewhere in USA. They have come here because of family reasons or otherwise and spent a year at IIT Bombay. Yes, there are some people who do it, but
Yeah, but yeah, the
doesn't.
question is, can industry sponsor professor or practice? That industry sponsors a professor who can do teaching and research and focus more on, speed and commitment that you were talking about.
They would do it if they see the speed. Yes. If
Okay. Okay. Okay.
commitment
So,
to speed is given, yes, it would be done, I'm sure.
okay. All right. Thanks. So, yeah, so Ravindra is asking, of course, he will learn from books and mentors. Anything from your life which you would like to mention, books, mentors, or anything else, where your learnings are coming from.
Learning is all by mistakes. Everything that you learn is by mistakes, and then you only thing is you don't repeat the mistake because
Okay.
nothing in India works by books or nothing in India works. Yes, there is advice from elders. I got a very good ground training. And I think these days that ground training, the management training, which a lot of these bigger companies, multinationals do, is not being done. I think I went through that 1 year grind, and I think that helps me a lot because it allows me to understand the psychology of the people across the table. That means the employees, rather than the employers, and also allows us to realize what it does, about it, what time it takes, or what inputs it takes to do each job.
Okay. Thanks. No, usually, when people see podcasts or when people see talks, they are always looking for some book, which they can go back and read and get some gyan. But I think, yeah, it totally makes sense that,
Read books,
you work on, you do mistakes and learn. Yeah.
books, things that I'm not saying books have not taught me,
Yeah,
but
of course.
is
Yeah.
then finally how you interpret that book and how you translate that book into your work.
Yeah. Great. Thanks. So Vivek is asking a question, of course, because it's a family business, and it's quite interesting question as well. That for your sons, of course, you are the best mentor, and they are not the first generation into the business. So for them, is it easy in times, to be like entrepreneur as compared to you? That's what his question is. That in a traditional industry like engineering, for example.
Um, I don't know. I mean, times have changed, life has changed, speed of life has changed. What we used to post a letter to Europe, now it's all telephones, and so it's completely changed, and they have to learn themselves. Although one of my sons has formal management training, he has done his MBA. The second one has not. But then I think they're learning along their way, and they do it very differently than we used to do it.
And coming from a business background, like doing an MBA is helping him in his journey, or it's pretty
Yeah,
much
it's
the same?
definitely helping him in journey, and I believe that he takes um, decisions more rationally, while the first
Okay.
generation takes it sentimentally sometimes.
Okay, thanks. No, really, because I also teach. I'm a professor of administration. I teach AI and innovation. A lot of times it's asked the question why MBA. MBA is important in this time. So, of course, I do understand that even in a family business, it's relevant, and it does help
I,
people to
a subject. My elder son did his engineering, mechanical engineering in Manchester, in UK,
Uh-huh.
and then went to Cambridge to do his management. And
Hmm.
what his thoughts were at the end of engineering and at the end of a management degree, master's in Cambridge, was totally different. That
Okay.
1 or 2 years at Cambridge taught him a lot, in and
Okay.
and which is helping in business. His thought
Okay.
process, the way he logically takes decisions, has changed.
Okay. Thanks. Anna is asking, Anna is my friend from Peru. She's asking, I would like to know if you have any experience dealing with fraud? Because I guess that you must have dealt with a lot of countries, a lot of exports, imports. So probably it could have occurred that, you would have dealt with a situation where there is a fraud. Mhm.
Are you talking of international fraud? Then, like every company, we have been screwed by, we lost a little money, not too much, on what do you call, uh, these email frauds which come through where someone changes his bank account and someone doesn't
Mm.
reply and you get screwed. Yes, I have faced that, and you get no results. We also had in one of our companies ransom attack, and we refused to pay. Very funny thing. Let me spend 5 minutes on it. In all our companies on a Saturday evening at 6 o'clock, the computer's servers automatically back up the week's data onto a backup server, as also a hard drive which collects data till it has. And on a Saturday evening, everyone had shut down, the accounts department had shut down, everyone had gone. But because there is biometric entry into the factory, the security department's computer was on. And one of those ransom attack emails came and he clicked on it. And because of that, not only did we lose 1 year data, we lost because the 1 year data went blocked, but the backup data also for that 1 year was lost because we had backup beyond that. But that backup which was being down, we lost. And of course, we refused to pay. We could get everything beyond 1 year, but 1 year data completely was lost to the company because we did not pay. So these things happen. It was a miserable time answering because we had to ring up our suppliers and say, hello, what is the price you supplied this item last time? We have lost all data. So can you tell us what is your price? So we will place the order at that price. That's sort of a stupid thing. But yes, these things happen and everyone faces.
Okay, great.
That
Thanks.
answers the question to Anna.
Yeah, I hope so. Otherwise, I'll try to talk to her later. Yeah, I think Vishesh is asking, of course, a question which was also raised very recently in the Startup Mahakam. So, someone who is like trying to enter deep tech entrepreneurship uh, in India. So, what are the biggest problems that you see, or you could have think of or faced?
Getting good manpower.
Okay.
That's very, very difficult in a growing economy. Even a small company like us, when I say small, is not someone who has a brand name to it, finds it very difficult to get good engineering staff, get good middle-level staff.
Okay, so even after having so many engineering institutions and management institutions, still it's a problem to have good staff to
Yeah,
go
sure.
forward in the deep tech
Sure. Yeah,
entrepreneurship
sure.
system.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right. Thanks. I don't see any question unless someone has a question, you can post. Well, Vishesh is also asking if there is any particular reason behind it. So what you feel that, what could be the reason behind not having, enough manpower?
No, good manpower, technically good
Okay.
manpower. Our
Okay.
biggest in all our companies is the mid level because let
Okay.
me tell you, degrees in India go by the millions. But how
Okay.
many of those degree holders are really competent and have taken trouble to really, absorb what we sit in IIT and absorb? And, the issue which I find again in a lot of Indians is when they face a problem, they don't want to go to the bottom of it and try to resolve it permanently. They're looking for quick fix solutions, just superficially solve a problem which comes up again rather than go to the bottom of it, whether it be a rejection or whether it be a wastage or whether it be a machine problem. Why is that problem occurring? Going to the bottom of it. And that is one thing I thank IIT for rubbing into us, at least during our time, that go to the bottom of your problem and try to solve it permanently.
Okay, great. Thanks. Shirish is asking another question that, okay, first generation entrepreneurs have, hunger and drive. How do you enable hunger in the next generation and to make them a successful entrepreneurs who already grew up with, already plenty of resources, maybe? Mhm.
Yeah, so I think in my case, I have seen my sons in the first few years, it takes some time. It takes some time before they get the hunger, because when they first join, they don't have so many powers. They don't have decision making powers. They have, you might say, their seniors, because they didn't start in my company as their managing directors. They started as officers, and they had bosses to report to. So they could not take decisions. But as they grew and as they were taking their own decisions, I think the drive has come, and I'm happy at that drive.
Great, great. Thanks. Vivek is asking another question. How do you see AI adoption and challenges and opportunities in SMEs in India?
I think we will have to accept it as a reality and work with it in every field. There is still some resistance. I mean, I say resistance is that, I would say, laxity, or not looking at reality that it is here. But I was very surprised that more than 50% of our staff is now at least using basic AI. That means their emails, and a lot of them who did not, because I was surprised when Mr. X from my company wrote a very, very good English email to a customer, when I know that his English is not even good enough to write a 4-line note. And I realized he was using AI. So, well, basic AI, everyone has realized, is here to there, but whether, where it has to be really used in production planning, in ensuring that we deliver on time so that purchases are made on time, all that will take a little time for it to be used by MSMEs.
Okay, thanks. Another question from Parag. Do we need to encourage more vocational or polytechnic education for relevant skills and mindset for industry or deep tech so that they can work on real problems and products?
Absolutely correct. The best question I've had till now. This is the most serious problem we are having in India. And I am spending a lot of my time trying to ensure that technical institutes from our students are promoted, because there is this unfortunate thing of you must be a degree, you must be an engineer. No, we need ITIs. We need people who have technical skills, which happens very easily in Germany. But out here, the Indian family, the parents are always saying, you go and get yourself a degree. And they're not bothering whether it's a BA or a BCom, but a degree is better than, leaving school at 10th and becoming a good machine operator or a good computer programmer. That is our biggest problem. And unless the psychology of parents changes and the children become independent enough to do this, India is always going to be short of such skilled labor. Very good question.
Okay, thanks. So I think we have just 5 minutes, and I will use this opportunity for you to share your current initiatives with IIT Bombay, so that I truly believe that some of our other alumni would either learn from it or would like to get involved and support and serve the community basically.
No, we just had our 50th Golden Jubilee Alumni Meet, because we passed out in 73. So we did that in February 2024. And our class, and that's Professor Sandeep Anand is on, I know it. We donated a EV lab, basically because we feel that, again, that two-wheeler and three-wheeler EV technology has to improve. Because let me give an example. Why did we choose EV? Education is one of the most important things for India for tomorrow. And at least 30 to 50% of our children in villages travel anything up to 10 kilometers to go to school. And a lot of them don't go there because the school is so far away. So if we can give to every village an EV rickshaw, which can take them to school, get recharged at the school, you will have more people going to the schools. And definitely, we do not want to continuously rely on second quality EV equipment coming in from China. So we hope our laboratory, our little thing will get us some there. After that, when we visited IIT, and again, we are a batch of 73. So three of us felt that the campus has grown from 2,000 students, which we were, to now nearly 15,000. And the campus is overcrowded. And we did not see it as a, what shall we say, a clean, green, happy campus. So three of us have taken a project. We go there every 1.5 months to try to make, and we have a great support from the director and all at IIT Bombay to make that in 3 years from now a clean, green, happy campus, which all of us as alumni can be proud of.
Great. Thanks a lot, Amit ji. And of course, because a lot of alumni would like to connect, or probably I think especially young entrepreneurs, they keep asking me, they would like to connect. So should I be sharing your email IDs, or
My
or they can
email
connect you on
ID,
LinkedIn?
and if it's mobile, please introduce yourself. I don't pick up unknown numbers. So if you can share my mobile and email, but anyone who's using my mobile number should give his name, because I don't otherwise pick up mobile numbers. So just send me a WhatsApp and then say you're calling me. I'll pick up your phone.
No, of course, because I think a lot of them reach out to me asking for some mentorship, or they would like to connect for something. I was like, okay, let me first talk. So usually in the talks itself, I let them know so that they're on the same page. All right, thanks a lot, Amit ji. It was a great talk. I can already see that everyone enjoyed it, and recordings would be anyway shared tomorrow. That I usually do. I'll share with you and everyone else. And thanks a lot for the time, and providing this great gyan to all of us. Thanks a lot, Amit ji.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye bye. Bye bye.